So this is part of a larger ride report that was put up on Adventure Rider about a year ago. So this ride was actually back in 2017. And this first clip is just the trip from Indiana out to Moab, pretty much. And a lot of it is not exciting. So most of the videos cut out except for some of these cool bridges that I saw along the way. A lot of pavement riding to get out there. But I did hop on the Trans-American Trail and saw some cool roads like this one that used to be a railroad track that was now a gravel road that meant I could carry fairly high speed and still not ride on the highway since it was just straight the whole way. And then there's a big jump in distance, and now in this rainstorm, I'm in Colorado, or just leaving New Mexico going into Colorado, and got hit by this hailstorm. And I was right on the edge of it, and it hurt like crazy, but I was trying to get away from the front since I needed to get north of the storm. But the roads got real slippery, and I couldn't see anything. I don't have a pin lock or anything in my helmet, so you can see I overcooked it a little bit and misjudged how greasy it was and couldn't see what I was doing, and really it was just rider error. I completely could have made that corner, but got tight on the bike and that was that. But eventually I did get out in front of the storm and then got north of it, so that was real nice. Stopped in Trinidad, Colorado to get some food, warm up a little bit, and then went over this pass, which I think was Medina or Marina or something pass, behind the Great Sand Dune in Colorado. And this was the first real off-road of the trip, so I'd been sitting for something like 1,000 miles to get here. So it was good to stand up a little bit and climb some hills and see some mountains. Of course, the very recent rain meant that all this would have been pretty much sand, but the water had turned it into this muddy hardpack that was slippery in spots and really grippy in others, and it took me a while to figure out where was good. This guy in the Forerunner, I stopped and talked to. I'd actually turned around at this water crossing and then saw him come up, and he was going to go through it, so I figured, well, I'll watch and make sure there's nothing under the water because I couldn't see under it. And it was pretty deep, but made it through.
Oh, my feet are wet.
This trail was full of water crossings. The trail just crossed over that same creek over and over. And that first one was the deepest. Everything after that was like this, where, it was maybe a foot, 2 feet deep, and that was it. Well, probably a foot deep, tops.
My bags are soaked from hitting all these wet branches since it did just downpour up here. This is the same storm that hailed on me. Just the northern tip of it got up this far. Now we're talking. Yeah, that seems like a good place to... I guess I'll camp here.
Turns out everything off that main trail was... The trail was packed down and everything else was real soft, so I turned in there and just wasn't paying any attention and fell over. I have never seen mosquitoes as dense as what was at that campsite. I just left my helmet on, left my gear on, cooked dinner, set everything up, didn't take my gear off till I got in the tent. This was one of my first sand experiences, especially with more gear on the bike. I saw some on the Trans-American Trail, but there's none of it in Indiana, so I never really get a chance to practice. So I'm trying to figure it out. It ends up being a lot of fun. And then off to the right there, you can see that giant featureless looking hill, that's the Great Sand Dune. So I don't know if you can ride on it. I didn't try. Um, Again, sand was new to me and I was by myself. But certainly an imposing natural feature that you would never expect in the middle of Colorado.
Oh, that's good.
Continuing to head west through Colorado, and then we jump into the Rio Grande River Basin here. I'm not big on heights, and this road is way above the water line. So I was trying to stay away from the edge, and it, makes my palms sweat and everything else. It's never been a strong suit of mine dealing with heights. Originally, my goal, and you'll hear some of me talking in the GoPro. My goal was to make this kind of a talking journal as I was riding. And it turns out that I say so much dumb stuff while I'm riding, so I'm not really paying attention to what I'm saying, that it didn't really make any sense for me to keep the stuff that I had said in the moment in there. So I ended up doing the voiceover again like I usually do, and now I know better. This rocky hill is on Stony Pass, which actually I've gone over before, but I went the other direction and I really didn't remember it. It's, cameras flatten everything out. It's a lot steeper than it looks, and it's a long climb. The 950 handled it just fine, but I'm in okay shape. But by the top, my arms were burning, my hands were hurting, so I'm trying to stand up and not get bucked off. Of course, the altitude, the bike's jetted for Indiana, so anyone who's got a 950 knows that when they bounce around a lot, they load up. The floats can't control the fuel height and the carbs, so you're trying to put power down, and the thing's richening up as the float height goes up. But it did alright, it didn't stall out on me.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing looking at my GPS and my DeLorme there. It's amazing those things haven't just completely failed from vibration.
Holy shit.
Of course, I gotta look back and make sure my stuff's still there after all the vibration. And this is the beautiful view that you get when you make it to the top of that rocky hill.
I've got no interest. Oh, I'm not going that way. What it does mean, though.
Well, I'm talking about this water crossing, and it was quite a lot higher the last time I was here. And I was kind of scared of it because the last time I came through, I wasn't that great of a rider, didn't really know what I was doing, and very nearly drowned my bike in it.
Just scrub brush, grass, weeds, snow. I can't imagine how much snow was up here before, because those drifts, I mean, that drift is 20 plus feet tall.
It's absolutely beautiful scenery out there. It was pretty cold. You can see there's snow in places. It was 40 degrees through a lot of this, which when you're wearing adventure gear is pretty comfortable. Thought it was interesting the drop off straight ahead. You can see through that gap in the trees. And you do have to be a little bit careful. Colorado, there's tons of people out on these roads, way more than I would ever have expected. Jeeps and then side by sides just, cruising up the middle.
way too big for that thing. I was not expecting this. Oh, dog.
So you can see on my helmet, or on the GoPro, there's water on the lens. It's blurry. I couldn't see anything through my helmet. I've got the thing cracked open to try to keep it from fogging up because it's 45 degrees out, so my breath alone is enough to fog it up. And then it's raining on top of that. So this was Black Bear Pass.
Okay, I'm hoping I'm past the hardest part of Black Bear in the rain with thunder rolling. Riding solo.
So I talk a lot here, and it was really the adrenaline talking and me saying more stupid stuff. Black Bear Pass by myself in the rain was probably dumb on a big adventure bike. I don't know what it normally looks like. It's a one-way pass, and it was challenging on the 950. Fortunately, gravity kind of helps you and pulls you down the steps, but this is a tall bike, and I've raised it up quite a bit, and the steps that you ride down are still banging the skid plate the whole way. So if you are thinking about riding Black Bear Pass on an adventure bike, I suggest either riding with someone or understand that it's quite difficult. And you'd better be either an accomplished rider or have a well set up bike to do it, because the bike honestly saved my ass going down those steps. This part of it wasn't too bad. Looking at it now, it was incredibly cool, the switchbacks and overhang coming down into Telluride. And honestly, I loaded up. I don't know that I would try Black Bear again in the rain. If it was dry, I'd do it, but there's so little room for error at the top. The other problem is there's often rock slides on Black Bear. And if you come down and there's a slide, you may not be able to get through. So be prepared to be stuck there or check conditions. So this is as I'm about to cross into Utah, and I'm climbing up the steps. I think it was toward like a Buckeye Park or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. And it started hailing again. 2 times in one trip it started hailing on me. And this road just turned into mud. Fortunately, I got off of the bad section before it really started to soak in. But I was pretty concerned. Loaded up on a big bike, it's hard to go fast enough to clear the tires out. And then the trail turned into pretty much nothing, winding through these aspen trees. There was no evidence that anyone had been back here in a long time. The grass was growing up over the trail. I wasn't sure there was a road in some places. I had to kind of forge my own trail. But eventually made it through. It is open. And then this is coming down out of the forest into Moab. Just a winding road coming down, and of course my camera died on the way down, so I didn't get any of the view into Moab. So I stole a video from my dad of me sitting in the parking lot, and amazingly we rolled into the hotel, him coming from California and me from Indiana, within maybe an hour of each other. It was astounding how close we were. So that's the first half of the trip, and there will be another section of video of riding together in Moab and doing some off-road, and then heading back to Indiana.